Protests renewing efforts to remove Confederate monuments all around the country, including Athens. This one near the UGA Arch, vandalized during a recent demonstration. Earlier this week, the city's mayor announced he wants it gone. That sentiment not echoed by some of those who blazed the trail for the modern fight for civil rights. Today, I spoke with former United Nations ambassador, former congressman, former Atlanta mayor, and confidant of Dr. King, Andrew Young. He says there are still lessons to be learned from preserving symbols of the unpleasant past.
Ambassador, do you think Henry Grady needs to have his name erased from Atlanta, whether it's the statue downtown or it's Grady High School or the Grady School of Journalism at the University of Georgia? Has the time come to take his name off of Grady Hospital as well?
Well, I differ from a lot of people on this because I think our history is our history. And I still quote Henry Grady about us being a brave and beautiful city. And I don't know enough about his racist background, but at the time in which he lived, everybody was living on slavery. And you start with Grady and you get rid of Thomas Jefferson. I mean, that's our history, and I'm content with it. I don't like it. Even Stone Mountain, it's a beautiful technical work of art. Now, I don't agree with any of the four persons there, but I don't think that ought to be desecrated. What I would like to do, I would like to put a big freedom bell on top of Stone Mountain, because Martin Luther King said, "Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain." And I think building on our past rather than trying to destroy our past